What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast, Happy Hour Hoops. 2 days into the NBA season, and I'm already loving how it's going. Jake, Steve, and myself, Dunny, here with y'all to talk some hoops. Best time of year is back. Basketball is back. How we doing, fellas?
No, we're doing. We'll see how I'm doing in about 3.5 hours because the Mavs season hasn't started yet.
True.
But we're doing. It's been nice. We had the opening night. We watched the Celtics slaughter the New York Knicks, and then last night, Dunny, it was just nice to have a league pass night. It was just nice to have a kick the feet up, relax, and have a league pass night. And I watched a lot of games where I was just like. I was kind of had some questions about certain teams going in or excitement for others going in. And it's one game, not the questions weren't answered, but it was just nice to be like, oh, I'm watching Rockets Hornets. Oh, you know what? Let's switch over to Magic Heat. Oh, let's go Sixers Bucks for a little bit to just have all those options again. I mean, come on now. How could you beat that?
It was. I agree. League Pass night last night. It was so good to just like look at the full menu of games and be like, "Oh, what am I going with?" But Steve, we can't relate to you if you don't get a 20-point win tonight at least. So you got to keep up with the pod. Dude.
I know
because we had Dunny are feeling good from our first game.
So I would say so.
Celtics Cavs are rolling, baby. Let's see if the Mavs do it tonight. But you guys know how it always goes. We start the show with news. We try to keep y'all informed. So news and notes real quick before we get into the thick of it. The NBA is investigating Joel Embiid and 76ers for player participation. We had our fun with Joel saying he will not be playing back-to-backs probably for the rest of his career. Only played 39 games last year. This is, some things that I guess the Sixers have been kind of shamed for in the past, or at least Joel himself, and now the league will be taking a look at it. I don't know if this has anything to do with his comments or just, how it's gone for him over the past couple of years, but definitely not the start to the season the Sixers were hoping for. Obviously, starting without Embiid and PG, and now this.
I think that I'm going to give my take on Embiid. I'm just going to stand by this until proven otherwise. I think his knees have been probably shot for years to a point where he's always going to be in pain. It's real, like I feel like he's probably, and this is usually happens with big guys too. Like something happens, and he can play through stuff if he wants to, but he probably doesn't always want to. Shit probably hurts. Right. So he wanted to play in the Olympics. He wanted to win a gold medal. He doesn't care about opening night. Like it's just a different animal. Now 39 games last year, that's a big issue. Like if you're not getting half the games, but I feel like Embiid's a guy he's like. He should be listed with like a little injury thing next to him for the rest of his career. Cause I feel like that's where it is with his knees at this point. Like it's the same as Kawhi. Like Kawhi, like just some sort of chronic knee thing. They're never going to tell us what it actually is, but he's always going to have this you're going to have to worry about it forever.
Yeah. I mean, your Philly can't really afford to rest him either. Right. Cause this team, you already have Paul George injured. This is a team that, is not really a lock for the playoffs or anything if Embiid's not on the floor. And this is something here where it's like like you said, Jake, it's like Embiid. He's just always playing injured going forward. I don't think he'll ever be fully healthy again. So if you're Philly and you're Embiid here, it's like, yeah, you want to have your eyes set on the more important games. Like you said, Jake, he doesn't care about an opening game. He doesn't care about some of these games here. He wants to play in the big moments, the big games, but there might not be that many for Philly based on what we've seen with this team without Embiid. So it's a really strange situation. I'm kind of shocked it took the NBA this long to start investigating.
Yeah, honestly,
I feel like we've been having this same conversation.
If this game was Sixers Bucks on NBC Sports Philadelphia, it would have been a different thing. It was because it was the ESPN game that they're pissed about this as much as anything too. We have some comments in here that we should get to before we move on here. This is probably for you, Steve. First time, long time from Meerkat. Jaden Hardy a lock.
I love Hardy's role this year, especially no
Meerkat bet on Hardy today too for the lunchtime.
Yeah, I mean, no Dante Exum. Hardy should get minutes. You'll see how the Mavs use everybody. But I love Hardy this year. He showed a lot in the playoffs last year too. So Hardy should have a pretty big year. I would hope. 6 man of the year might be a stretch though. I don't know. I don't think we'll have enough minutes for that.
We'll check those odds though. You're just getting trolled here. I think.
Yeah, well we'll just ignore that one.
Okay, we'll ignore Eric. He's troll. And JVC, the Bulls. It was a little embarrassing last
Zach
night.
LaVine looked good, so you got that.
Good.
It's gonna help when he gets traded. It's gonna help when he gets traded. Bring back more pieces.
I saw it as Tom Fornelli, who I believe is a college football writer, and he's also a Bulls fan, and he said something similar to like, "Wow, Zach LaVine playing like he's worth so many assets."
Yeah, right.
So yeah, the last thing I want to say about Embiid too is it might be a ratings thing where he's avoided Jokic a couple of times here. So the league could be upset about that as well. But we'll see. We'll see if this turns into anything else other than, just a slap on the wrist or maybe a public embarrassment for them making this statement at all in the first place. Other news, DeJounte Murray out for an extended period with a left hand fracture. I mean, this just sucks.
This is sad.
That's terrible.
This is sad. The Pelicans, I mean, Ingram looked great and Murray looked great before fracturing his hand. He was almost going to have a triple-double. Zion's healthy. I know he had an illness, but it's not, at least not an injury. And you finally find that true point guard for this Pelicans team, that perfect fit. And now we're back to last year all over again with the Pelicans. It's just, I feel awful too, because DeJounte Murray, I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I feel like he's one of the most overlooked players in the NBA. The Atlanta trade obviously didn't help him. When he was at the Spurs, I just felt like he was super kind of under the radar, underrated. And then, Atlanta was never a perfect fit, but he was a good player. I think he would have been kind of that guy to really help the Pelicans take that next step, become one of those, formidable threats in the West. And now, we'll see. We'll see when he's back playing basketball again. It's tough. It's tough.
Really, really sucks. Hate to see it, especially, this early in the season. Never fun. Again, this early in the season, injuries happen. They're part of it. Usually which takes up the notes section. But I just, kind of was poking fun, asking you guys last week where James Wiseman was at this season.
I know.
On the Indiana Pacers, unfortunately, already with a torn Achilles. So just a rough start to a young guy's career who had a bunch of promise coming out of college. Just gets even tougher with this one. Obviously, he will not be on the basketball court for a long time. And, you start to question the longevity of his career at this point or if it's ever going to take off. Just horrible for James Wiseman.
Yeah, I'm starting to think this is going to be one of those guys that just plays overseas.
Yeah.
Like at this point, he just kind of feels like one of those players, started off kind of as a bust, couldn't really find his way in like the right fit. You saw some potential there, but you saw a lot where he needed to mature a lot, at least on the basketball court. And now you have an injury like this, and Achilles is not something, you come back from right away. And even when you do, it's a long process back. And for a guy like Wiseman, where, you thought he had untapped potential, it's tough. It's just, I feel like I hate being, bad news here, but I feel like his NBA career is pretty much over at this point. And
Yeah.
if he wants to play professional basketball again, it's probably going to be in a different league.
Yeah, it does seem like he's on track for that. He's he might take after the Jabari Parkers of the world.
Yeah.
Maybe gets a second chance somewhere down the road. Yeah. But that's it for news and notes. Other than, since the last time we recorded, it seems like everyone signed an extension with the teams that they're on.
Yeah, pretty much.
We saw Aaron Gordon extensions.
There's no reason to try to. Your free agency big trade days are gone with the second apron. I think everybody's realizing that, and they're just going to take that money and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're trying to lock up the guys they have now. That's a good point. We'll probably be seeing a lot more of this and a lot less splashes in the offseason. But
yeah,
we'll see.
In the GM survey, which is always a fun read before the year, one of the things that was one rule change that GMs could all change, and it was like 67% the second apron rule. It was like overwhelming. They were like, this thing fucking sucks. JVC talking about Levine shooting well in the first half. He played. I mean, he had like 27, didn't he?
No, he's good. He had a good game. I was saying that was kind of the bright spot. The only problem is that's just going to help his trade value.
yeah, exactly. Eric said, "Are we saying Embiid is afraid of Giannis like he is Jokic?" I think Embiid is afraid of pretty much every Eastern Conference contender. I think that's pretty much or Western Conference contender. Is Detroit a low key contender for the play-in? The play-in, yeah.
No,
you don't think the play-in?
No, you got Tim.
They only lost by
Tobias
6
Harris on your team. I don't care. I do not care. You
the
have
fourth
Tim
quarter,
Hardaway and Tobias Harris on your team.
As a former JV Bickerstaff, was it obviously the Cavs?
The most classic fourth quarter for the Pistons.
33-19.
Yeah.
So the enforced dress code didn't help them out in the fourth quarter.
Didn't lock the guys in. They weren't feeling very professional in that moment.
Oh yeah. 0-1 for the dress code team. Got it.
Yep. 0-1. We're gonna keep track. Let's see when that we will be definitely lighting it up when he eventually lets loose on that dress code and Cade can show up in sweatpants or something.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Also notable play from
I think this is about Detroit.
They lost. and they blew a game they should have won because they're the Pistons.
Here we go.
Oh, with a bet on this. Stop it. We've talked way too much about the Pistons.
Yeah, that's fair. What were you gonna ask? What play, Dunny?
Benedict Mathurin dropped Jaden Ivey last night.
Did he? That? No.
Oh, I missed that. What happened?
Top of the key, crossed him up. Jaden Ivey fell pretty much all the way under the basket.
How'd our boy Ben Mathurin do last night? Did he have a nice night?
Many buckets?
19 points. Yeah, he's the leading scorer.
Okay. Pacers were missing that last year. They were missing that big time last year.
Ivy had a good game too.
That's kind of super underrated. Not enough people, I think, talk about is that the Pacers made a nice run last year without Ben Mathurin.
They made a nice run without Ben Mathurin and gave the Celtics their biggest test.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ben Mathurin's kind of that microwave type scorer you want on a team like that.
And now Siakam's on that team the full year. Yeah, it's a different team. We will be talking about the Pacers a little bit later. That's a tease. All right. We're going into our next section here. We got through our comments. It's 3 big things. Each one of us now are bringing something to the table every single week. Whatever's on whatever our biggest burning topic anything, whatever it is, we're coming with it. Dunny's going to start us off. Steve's going to go, and then I'll finish up. So we each got something this week. Let's see what we got. There's so much around the league, and we all watch so many different games and stuff that we just want to try to get to something that we're instead of trying to cover the broad world of the NBA that we've done in the years past, bring in something that we locked into the last couple weeks. Because I don't know about you guys, that's kind of how I'll watch. Talking about League Pass, I kind of just become infatuated with a team and watch them for a stretch, and then I'm oh, let me watch this team for a while. That's just how it goes. So there's usually a team on my mind at all times. So it's gonna be fun. But Dunny, you start us off. What do you got this week?
Guys, is it too early to ask the question? Did Darvin Ham just suck? Because this Lakers group looked good on opening night.
Yeah.
Not only that, they looked motivated. JJ Redick, coach speak is one thing and all the cliches and stuff, but He had a little bit of like the Joe Mazzulla vibe, and I don't know. I couldn't put my finger exactly on it, but he has his own unique coaching style, and I mean that in actually coaching, and then the way he addresses the media. I mean, it's basically what you'd expect from JJ Redick. He's a ball knower. Obviously, was an amazing player, but it's just such a different feel for this Lakers group. Opening night was eye opening to me. They were underdogs to the Timberwolves. I kind of thought the T-Wolves, even with the Cat leaving town and them adjusting to Randall and DiVincenzo being in the lineup, I thought they would still kind of have their way with this Lakers group. And Anthony Davis and company had other plans. Davis had a monster night. They looked competent as far as, from a coaching standpoint. And I liked everything that Redick had to say after the game. And the group just looked good. I can't say enough about how impressed I was by the Lakers on opening night. So did Darvin Ham just suck?
I mean, it could be that, but also too, if you're gonna discredit Darvin Ham, maybe credit JJ Redick a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't just a podcast to hire, a friend. Maybe JJ Redick has a great basketball mind, and LeBron was kind of ahead of the curve on that. And I think everyone kind of knew that with JJ Redick, right? Even back like from his Duke days, that this guy just knows basketball, the insides and out of basketball. And the biggest thing I noticed in the first game, Dunny, is that the Lakers were passing the ball. It was not first look shots anymore like before, or just ISO Anthony Davis, ISO LeBron James. They were passing the ball, and they were passing up like contested looks to get better open looks. It also helps too to have the night Anthony Davis had, when, a fully healthy Anthony Davis. But let's not act like Anthony Davis missed a ton of time last year. It was actually one of his more healthy seasons. But What I noticed from the first game is that the Lakers really weren't taking like that first shot that like maybe you should take the shot, or maybe they were passing it up, and it was kind of impressive to say the least. It wasn't like LeBron was doing all the primary passing either. This was kind of a balanced offensive attack, and I was a little bit shocked because Timberwolves were one of my highest teams coming on into the regular season, just by the way they were built. And I know that, you make a trade, it's new faces, and there's going to be a little bit rust there. But kind of from the start of the game, it just felt like the Lakers were the better team on the basketball court, the more balanced team. And, the one thing you look at the starters. 4 of their 5 starters all had four plus assists.
Yep.
You don't see that in old Lakers teams. Like
4
plus assists for 4 of the 5 starters. And the one who didn't was Rui Hachimura, who doesn't really pass to begin with, but he was 7 of 14 from the floor with 18 points. Dalton Connect too. I know it was limited action. He looked fun. He looked great when he was on the court too.
Preseason game he was incredible.
Yeah. And Jackson Hayes played well. I mean, it's kind of the same team. They're running back. Obviously, Connect's a rookie. He's the new face, and you have these guys for a full off season together. But they looked like a completely different style of basketball, and I think that's where maybe you can pull that on Darvin Ham suck. But I'm going to go more on. I'm going to give JJ Redick some credit. The only thing I'm going to discredit JJ Redick for is the fact that he didn't realize why people are making up such a big deal when Bronny and Bron were checking in. He's like, I didn't even realize it. In the moment, I was coaching. JJ, enough. Stop with that speak. You knew exactly what was going on there. Like, let's not play the dumb card here. But besides that, I thought he coached a hell of a game. And I think the Lakers looked, completely different than the Lakers of last year in terms of just how they were just sharing the ball on offense. I mean, this is a team that beat the Timberwolves handily, going 5 of 30 from 3. That's hard to do in the NBA nowadays. You live and die by the 3. But when you play fundamental basketball and you're getting guys open looks, sometimes the threes don't need to fall.
Especially jarring to see that after the Celtics hit 500 threes to win earlier in the night. It was like a completely different mindset. But and there's a nice little tidbit from the coach huddle with JJ where he said like something about them getting 19 threes, or maybe it was in the press conference where he said like we had 19 threes in the first half. That's the number we want to stay around. They only took 11 in the second half. So clearly they want to be around 40 threes this year. And so they're not only going to make, 5 of 30 a lot of games. Like they're going to hit those shots. Would have been nice if Bronny hit that 6. I'll say that. That moment would have been electric if that 3 went in there. I'm willing to plant my flag right here, and I did it in the group chat the other night. I just think JJ is going to be a great head coach, and I have since he got the job. I said it before. I think earlier in the podcast we talked about it in the summer. He just knows how to manage the personalities. Yeah. Clearly knows the X's and O's. Like that was like the podcast was his job interview with LeBron, but also like showing probably organizations probably took note of that. Like, oh shit, JJ's like really on his P's and Q's in this. So I just think he's going to be awesome. And Darvin Ham might have sucked too. It might have been a combination of both. Yeah. But the Lakers just felt like they were just like the vibes were better too. Mm-hmm. Like they were playing, like part of that freedom was they were playing looser and everything. And maybe it was just, yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. I'm excited to hear like comments about the changes throughout the year from the Lakers, like especially from like AD, not really LeBron, because LeBron's going to say whatever LeBron wants to say, but from like AD and Reeves and guys like that, like what they feel is different, because definitely felt different. And we'll talk about the Lakers later too.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say about this is that if you would have asked me before the season started, been like, hey, Steve, the Lakers and Timberwolves are going to play. The Timberwolves are going to attempt more free throws. The Lakers are going to make 8 less threes than the Timberwolves, and LeBron James is going to be a -6 on the court. What do you think the final score of that game is going to be? I'm like Timberwolves by 20, right? And so to find a way to win when not everything's falling perfectly for you is super impressive. And I think that's where you have to kind of credit the coaching staff and kind of just how the game. Obviously, Anthony Davis was incredible that night. But just to put guys kind of in the right spot. And like you said, Donnie, yeah, I think you could discredit Darvin Ham for that, but I think you also can credit JJ.
Of course, yeah.
All right. Let's move on to a team that I might plant a flag in and say, I'm not going to overreact and say they're the second biggest threat in the East. I think this is the third biggest threat in the East, ahead of the Bucks, ahead of the 76ers, and that's the Orlando Magic. And this is a team that last year they started off hot with that 9-game win streak when everyone thought they were going to kind of be terrible. Then they came back down to earth. And then the Magic went 17-10 after the All-Star break, made the playoffs. They changed kind of this defensive style, like the 4th best defense in the NBA overall. I think they were the 3rd best after the All-Star break. And this was a team that, everyone kind of like not fell in love with, but almost was just like, oh yeah, the Magic are good, but didn't really like kind of fully respect them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because their superstar, and I'm saying the word superstar because he needs to be treated like a superstar. Paolo Banchero is just kind of stays to himself, quiet guy, not the flashiest guy in the world, just kind of shows up and does what he needs to do every day. And this team, what a way to start the season. To carry over that momentum from the second half of last year, the playoffs, into this season. The Miami Heat, they absolutely stomped on the Miami Heat in Miami. And they did it kind of behind Paolo Banchero and then their defense. Banchero, I mean, can't say enough about the guy. 33 points, 11 rebounds. He was 12 of 24 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, which is really promising because the 3-ball kind of was what he was struggling with his first 2 seasons. This is a guy who I think gets overlooked because he won Rookie of the Year in a race where it was kind of his to lose from the start back in 22-23, right? It was always kind of Banchero's race. It wasn't really a drama or competitive race. He just kind of won it. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, nothing crazy. Next year, kind of stepped up, or this past season, 23 points per game, around 7 rebounds. Again, his assists went up to around 5.5. His shooting percentages all went up. And it just kind of feels like without the flashy plays, all right, let's take the flashy plays away from it. Let's take kind of the media coverage away from it because I don't really think he'll get as much media coverage. Kind of feels like a jump that Anthony Edwards made last year. Where, as the season went on, you're like, oh, this is a guy who's a legitimate superstar and is capable of carrying a team. And what I look for in a superstar is not only are you going to, get better yourself, but are you going to make your teammates better? And I can tell you for a fact that since Banchero's kind of been doing this thing, Wagner's been great. Franz Wagner's been great. And Jalen Suggs has kind of been the big one, who almost felt like, oh, is this guy going to really reach that kind of lottery pick status in the NBA? And now we're starting to see kind of Suggs kind of knows his role. Wagner knows his role. Carter knows his role. And it's a team where you have that true superstar and you got a great team around it. I think they have some pretty good depth. You have Anthony Black and Jet Howard, who were rookies last year, didn't kind of disappointed. So we'll see where they jump, but it's still a very young team. And it's a team that plays basketball kind of old school. They make you work for every possession. I don't know if you guys tuned into that game at all.
I did. Yeah.
Miami got off to kind of a hot start in the first quarter. And then from that point on, Orlando was like, you're just going to work for every possession. We're going to make every possession feel like you're in the middle of a playoff basketball kind of game 6, game 7 feel. And that was something that the Magic's backbone was, especially last year. And in a league where everyone's playing as fast as possible, scoring as much as possible, to Dunny, shooting 500 threes if you're the Boston Celtics, the Magic are kind of doing the opposite. But the big thing from last night with a team that plays as good defense as much, the biggest, kind of, I think, red flag from the Magic last year was, their shooting. Their shooting wasn't great. The Magic were 18 of 49 from 3 last night. They held the Heat to under 100. They played their defense, and they still started shooting threes. So if this Orlando Magic team, and obviously Banchero especially, because that's kind of the one part of his game I want to see him work on, if they can shoot threes the way they do, I tell you what, guys. I mean, this is a team that I think is legitimately the third best team in the East after the Celtics and the Knicks.
Yeah, this is like the complete. I had this game completely backwards.
Same.
I thought the Heat were going to come out motivated. I know we talked about it in our win total draft, and the reason I selected them. I mean, this is a game where I have that right. Yeah, Jimmy Butler had 3 points in 26 minutes in this game. Yeah. The Heat looked bad, but I think it's in part because of how well the Magic played and how good they played together. And you touched on, Steve, their team defense. Yeah. And you add a guy like KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who played 25 minutes, who only scored 3 points, but he's not there to score. He's there for perimeter defense. Jalen Suggs is one of the best, most underrated defenders in this league. And then Paulo, I mean, it speaks for itself. And then you have guys like Wendell, Franz, Mo. They can all play D as well. And this is a team who they've kind of been showcasing their defense for a couple of years now. I'm thinking back to, starting 2-3 years ago, every time the Celtics played Orlando, it was a battle for the Jays. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum struggle against this team, and it's because of their wing defense. Shout out the Orlando Magic, man. They made some moves this offseason, and they're just good.
Yeah, KCP is a great addition to there. Eric, I do think it is a little bit where Miami is, but I don't think Miami's a bad team. I just don't think that they're to the top tier level of some of these East teams. So I think the top of the East is really damn good this year. I think that's what we're going to be looking at here, because I don't disagree about this at all with Orlando or Banchero. I think this team's going to be terrifying. Now, do I think that they're the third best team in the East? No, I do not.
Well, you're a Cavs fan. Yeah, I get it.
I don't think the Knicks are the second best team in the East. If Evan Mobley plays like he did last night, that's my thing. If Evan Mobley last night, 25 points, 9 rebounds, plus 31, him and Donovan Mitchell in this game, plus 31. They destroy the Raptors, win by 30. But I've never seen Evan Mobley look like he did last night, like on the court. The confidence, the post-up game, where he takes 2 steps and all of a sudden he has like deep position in the lane on anybody. Now, they had poor Scotty Barnes in hell this whole game, defensively and offensively.
Dude, Scotty looked bad.
Well, but that's the thing with Mobley too. Mobley being active defensively, 3 blocks, and Allen next to him. What's Scotty Barnes going to do?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of guys in the league who aren't going to be able to score in the paint on this team too. If Mobley is this guy all year, this is, in my opinion, I think it's the second best team in the East and is the biggest threat to the Celtics in the East. Because Mobley is a guy that none of these other teams have if he plays like that. Like, Banchero's amazing, but he's not that size and defensive force that Mobley can be. The Knicks, I know it's playing the Celtics. I know it's banner night and the Celtics were on their revenge tour and everything else. But everything I worried about the Knicks came into fruition in that game against Boston, between Cat kind of being, you know, a little passive and not really being involved at ton times. That's how I feel like it's going to happen in crunch time when it comes down to the Knicks. Just, you know, the hit, whatever's going on with Mikal Bridges. Anunoby's never going to be an offensive guy, and he only had like 5 points and like 4 shots in that game. So I'm worried about the Knicks. So when it comes down to it, we're talking about like the Cavs, Bucks. You know, we get the Bucks obviously have a Giannis, and they had an amazing first night. I just think that though, we've been waiting for it with this Cavs team. Like, we've seen the talent. We've seen it all there. All on paper, it's looked good. I've talked about how big of a change it is with having Kenny Atkinson rather than having JB Bickerstaff. That showed off. You want to know who it showed off the most for? 8 for 9 for 19 points, Karis LeVert off the bench last night. Who had his best years of his life with Kenny Atkinson in Brooklyn. Ty Jerome, out of nowhere, 14 points, 6 for 7 shoot. Like, this team was getting
kind of forgot the Cavs had him until I was watching.
I did too. But he turned it up. But it's because that the system that Atkinson runs with them, it's just so friendly to get these open shots. It's kind of the same thing we're talking about with JJ. It's a lot of motion. It's a lot of getting guys open and everything else. And all these guys are going to get to eat in some of these games. But if Mobley is that force, this team is and I'm the most excited. Going into the year, too, this is kind of just a carryover regardless of what happened last night, and last night kind of confirmed it. Going into the year, this is the most excited I've been for a Cavs team that hasn't had LeBron James on it, and even towards the end of the LeBron era, probably more excited because with Mitchell signing on finally, like all I've talked about with you guys the last couple of years is, well, I think Mitchell's going to leave eventually anyways. Let's trade him. Like, it's end of the – like, I was not just saying that as like a paranoid – fan. I legitimately thought he was just going to be there for 2 years and leave. So now having him there for 4 years, even if he asked for a trade, I just talked about how hard it is to actually trade these guys with their big salaries anyways. But having that in place and coinciding with Atkinson, a coach that I think is actually really good and can maximize the offensive talent they have. And if it adds in with Mobley, like finally taking the step he gets, it's everything like you could want as a Cavs fan going into the season. And this is a team that's won 50 games basically the last 2 years each year. So I don't know. I'm just really excited about it. And seeing Mobley last night, I don't know who defends him if he plays like that. Like, I don't know how you stop them.
I think you should be really excited about this team, Jake. They looked awesome. Again, we were all league passing last night, so I didn't watch this whole game, but I watched the majority of the second quarter, and there was a few plays where Mobley was just out of his mind. It was like, this looks like a different dude. I think most importantly is his defense, and then creating offense, not just for himself off his own defense, but for the entire Cavs team. And I think that's where he's probably going to be the most valuable. Where Jared Allen is just and Jared Allen's a great player. I'm not taking anything away from him by comparing the two, but the way he protects the rim and is your defensive enforcer or anchor is so much different than the way Evan Mobley can do it. Because Evan Mobley can block a shot and then start a break by himself, he's a good enough athlete where he can make a stop or guard the other team's best defender or best offensive player, shut them down by himself, and then again start the break or make the correct outlet read. And that's just something I don't ever remember seeing Evan Mobley do, and we saw a lot of it last night. And then they just dominated the Toronto Raptors, who aren't a bad team, but
they could be a bad team.
They could be.
No, RJ Barrett last night too was huge.
Yeah,
right.
But it's still an impressive win, and this is what you want to do, right? This is, for every sport, people always talk about it. If you're a good team, you want to see your team beat up on the bad teams. That's exactly what they did, and even Tristan Thompson got a bucket last night.
Yeah. I think the big thing with the Cavs, or at least, going forward, or, seeing that, we could be that team this year, is if Mobley plays like that, Jake, they can afford to play Mobley and Allen on the court at the same time in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And that is, I think, the biggest advantage, because then you have one of the best defensive front courts in the entire NBA, and you have a guy, you don't have kind of two liabilities in terms of creating their own shots, right? That was kind of the biggest thing with Mobley last year. It's like, we see this type of potential, but is he going to be able to do that, stretch the floor a little bit, or be a threat when he has the ball in his hand or when he's posting up? Because when it's not, it makes the Cavs very tough to play both guys on the court at the same time. But
Yeah.
now if Mobley does what he did in Toronto going forward, then you have no issues playing both of them. And then it becomes an advantage for the Cavs rather than a disadvantage the past couple of years. And, I'm not going to try to say he's the same type of player, but some of those moves Mobley was making gave me kind of just flashbacks to when Giannis broke out. To when it's like you just have this type of wingspan, this type of athleticism, and he's starting to kind of figure out like how to, get the type of shots he wants and attack the basket or attack his defender. And that's something we've never seen from Mobley before, but that's something I think all three of us were saying, like, if he can get to that level, the raw athleticism's there. You can't teach that.
The best part about it is he did it from the opening tip. He literally took the first trip down the lane was him doing exactly that move, powering to the rim. He missed it a couple of times and gets 2 rebounds anyways and gets the putback for the points. But it was like, oh shit. Like it was like, okay, he's coming out of right away in this game being like, no, I'm this guy this year. So yeah, it definitely felt a lot like that. It's still a little too, I don't know. And this is a perfect segue for a comment because Eric's chirping a little. Maybe someone else get in front of Milwaukee in the Central before we crown them. First of all, I'm not crowning Cleveland. I said they might be the second best team. They're not really crowning anybody, but they also trailed Milwaukee by 1 game last year. So I think it's okay to compare them pretty evenly.
Absolutely,
in the hierarchy here. So we'll see.
And the Cavs are trending up. I mean, the Bucks did look great last night.
Dame. No, they were playing a bad Philly.
They were playing a bad
based
Philly
on the
team,
roster they have.
If that's the Damian Lillard they get all year,
that's the Taurean Prince they get all year.
I love Taurean Prince. I can't.
Man shot 100% from the field, 4 from 3. Crazy. Jake, last thing on the Cavs here, and this is just any good team should have this, and you guys do, especially if your starting 5 is going to play this well. But you just have a bench filled with guys that other teams hate to see coming off the bench. Karis LeVert, who you already mentioned, 19 points in 21 minutes. Georges Niang has always been a pest and can light it up from 3.
He's such an asshole.
Sam Merrill, I know way too well. Isaac Okoro, just like a body you could throw at someone. You mentioned Ty Jerome. Hand up. I also didn't know he was on the Cavs.
And Strus, probably the worst defender of this, is hurt. He's out for like 2 months. Wait till Strus is back.
Talk about a guy I fucking hate, Max Strus. A guy you love to have on your team if he's playing for you. Yeah, so it's exciting things for the Cavs, Jake. I was happy to see them get that dub. And hey, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities for the Cavs to be the second best team in the East.
I'm with you there, but this isn't last year's Milwaukee. That's all.
We'll see.
I hope so.
We'll see.
I want a good Milwaukee. Listen, I almost picked them to win the title. I might have actually had them in the finals last year. So I'm as mad as anybody else that it didn't work out. But that if Dame is healthy and locked in, and like, because remember all the stories last year where it was like, oh, Dame didn't even work out in the summer. Like Dame was in a bad space. If he was locked in this summer, I have faith that Dame can have another great all-star level year later in his career. Like we've seen Steph do it, and he's not Steph, but he's the closest thing we'll ever see again probably is Dame. And I think that his career his skill set lends well to being good late in his career. I think last year was just a weird year getting traded. Like it was clearly really emotional for him. So
yeah, I mean, as long as Giannis is healthy, whatever team Giannis is on will always be a threat. Like he's on that very short list of it doesn't matter who, and they have a solid team around him. But Giannis looked great last night, and if Giannis is Giannis, they'll always be a threat. And I don't think we're trying to dismiss the Bucks by hyping up the Cavs or the Magic. I think we're just saying it might be a little more competitive for second place in the East because right now I don't.
Well, yeah, we know first place in the league until
first place in the East is decided. But put the shirt down. You know who we're talking about, Donnie. We don't need to show off the shirt.
For the viewers on YouTube, all right?
Oh, you're right. I have no idea.
Just for the deaf viewers on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, great. Deaf viewers. It's exactly what you want on the podcast.
Also. Side note here on the Bucks, they're 1-0 without Thanasis.
No.
So maybe Giannis doesn't need his brother on the team.
I'm sure Giannis loves to hear that.
It's
Yeah,
it's still early, but the 1-0 without the Nastas. I'll be keeping track.
JBC, we're all excited about, except Steve.
Oh.
Steve's not excited.
I'm excited for Wemby.
Okay, he's excited.
I'm
All
excited.
right,
This are we moving on to the games tonight?
Let's get to the weekend preview here. We got
let's get to it.
Let's do it because we're starting with your team.
Yes, we are.
The Dallas Mavericks tonight.
So this is
are they at home? Sorry.
They're home. They're
hosting the San Antonio Spurs.
Back-to-back years, the Mavs got to play Wemby opening night. I mean, ridiculous. They just want they
it's
just
the rivalry. It's
been
a rivalry.
I know it is. It's fantastic, but of course I gotta wait 2 days to watch the Mavs. Then they play Wemby, and it happens to be the same night the Rams have a game. So the sports scheduling gods just hate me. But whatever. I'm a kid at Christmas for this season and for this game, first game of the season, but just this team in general. I'm looking at the Mavs roster top to bottom, and it just gets me so excited because I think what so many people are kind of overlooking, and even myself, because I'm up very high on the Thunder and the T-Wolves this year as well, is the fact that we're getting a full year of the post-trade deadline Mavs with PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, the team that was the clear second-best team in the NBA records-wise, stats-wise. You want to do the net offensive and defensive ratings. They were in the top 5 for both post those deals. You add in Klay Thompson now. What's the one thing people said the Mavs kind of need is just someone who shoots. That's all Klay Thompson needs to do. That's all he needs to do is just shoot the ball. Luka will get him open, and I'm seeing some of the quotes already saying Klay Thompson's getting some of the best looks he's ever had. And you get to play with Luka Doncic. I mean, he's gonna pass you open. And Derek Lively, we kind of saw his progression from the start of his rookie season to the playoffs, and now you get this year 2, and the Mavs for the first time in what feels like a decade have a problem of they don't know which big is going to be the primary big. That is the best problem in a good way. In a good way. Before it's like, oh, who are we running out there? Who could we run out? We're running out Boban. We're running out Dwight Powell. No. Gafford and Derek Lively are both great. And we got both of them that we can kind of use based on the matchups, right? You kind of mix and match. Lively's a little taller, a little more athletic, a little better passer. Gafford's kind of a bigger body. He's very, very good defensively. He's got great awareness when it comes to shot blocking. But to just see that I have a season starting off with this Mavs roster where you guys remember how excited I was with the trade deadline last year. Mm-hmm. When I found the news, we got PJ and then we got Gafford. And then it carries it over all the way to get us into the NBA Finals to eventually lose to probably one of the best teams we've seen in a very, very long time, which proved again on opening night when they beat the Knicks by, it felt like 100 because they were putting in so many threes, how good they are. But to have just this kind of hope going into a Dallas Mavericks season, and this is the best team by far that Luka has had going into a season. I haven't even mentioned Kyrie Irving. He's healthy. We're going into a season with a healthy Kyrie, healthy Luka. Clay's healthy right now. Like the whole team besides Dante Exum's
I'm sorry,
healthy.
but I have to ask you. I have to ask you. I have to be the devil's advocate. Are you worried about Kyrie in any way? On his best behavior last year? No, I'm
really not. The way kind of Dallas is
good last year.
That's what I mean.
I know. It felt like the perfect storm. But kind of just the way Dallas has treated him, the way he's talked about Dallas and everything. And just also too, and this could just be me just writing my own death sentence at this point.
Oh boy.
I feel like Kyrie's almost kind of reached that age where he's gotten more mature.
I hope so. Yeah.
It felt like that last year, and it feels like it coming into this year now. I think him and Luka get along really, really well. And like I said, I think the Mavs have handled just making Kyrie happy as best as any organization he's had. And I think that's one thing you could kind of always give credit to the Mavs for, whether they've been a good team or a bad team. They've kind of known how to handle the personalities and the players they get in for their team. So yeah, I'm kind of very glass half full right now on Kyrie Irving, and yes, I know what could happen in that situation. But come on, give me at least one night. We got a healthy team. Luka's a full go tonight. It's the most talented roster of Luka's career, and we're playing who could be the best player in the NBA in a year or two.
I think Luka is a big reason why Kyrie's been able
I think so too.
to kind of control himself as far as the media, on court, everything in between. And I think it's part with Luka's similarities to LeBron. I think Kyrie kind of thrives when he has a guy next to him that makes his life easier, and all the pressure's off him, much like it was in Cleveland with LeBron. Like, no one was pointing fingers, especially then, at Kyrie if the Cavs underachieved. That was LeBron's team. And this isn't a slight to Kyrie, but I mean, just what we've seen in his career when he's tried to be the guy, it hasn't really worked out for him. And, he's very much the second best player on this team. Doesn't mean he's still not crazy talented, because he is. But I think when the pressure's off Kyrie, he's able to be himself more without getting himself in trouble. And other than the finals, which is unfortunately just when you need to show up the most, like, let's try to wash that out of our brains and just think about the season that Kyrie Irving had last year, because he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, what we shouldn't forget is that game against Denver when he hit the lefty runner for the win, and everyone was like, holy shit, the Mavs are on the map now.
And he stepped up when Luka was out too.
Right.
Like to be the guy, like you said, Donnie, I think you're right, where he needs to have that other guy with him to kind of be not the Robin to Batman, but kind of that role, right? Where he could be a superhero himself, but he doesn't need to be every night. And you're right, Donnie. I mean, I think it helped because the games Luka missed, Kyrie's just like, all right, I'm the guy now. And he would just step up. His stats without Luka were crazy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know I'm way too optimistic on Kyrie Irving right now, but when
no, you should be. I didn't want to say it because that I'm not optimistic about it either. I just needed to play devil's advocate because it's as the two people that can speak directly to the Kyrie Irving experience.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, that's actually not a good track record for me.
First time.
Oh no, first time.
But I do think there's a chance that he's just matured. Like he's almost, he's been in the league a long time.
He's 32.
The spot
should have matured.
Yeah, and it was some weird years. There was just some weird stuff going on. The whole Brooklyn situation beyond him was just a mess. Like, that organization is just a mess in general. And he clearly just didn't want to play with LeBron anymore, which it sounds crazy, but he was just done. And then he kind of thought he was going to boss up on the Jays, and they're like, nah, bro, like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I got to credit the Mavs organization, though.
Yeah,
for putting Kyrie in a spot where he feels happy, he feels comfortable. They're not, saying he can't say whatever he wants to the media. Like, he still talks, right? But and they're going kind of above and beyond for him.
And it's different because he had to do right by them too. Like, they were the team.
Right.
They were the team that was
I was going to say, they went out and got him when there wasn't really a market.
Yeah.
Right.
So
fair point.
He owes them a lot for that too. But the Spurs, just tonight in general, besides the Mavs, we don't need to really preview the game, whatever. We're not at that point in the season yet, but this is just kind of a chance to touch on these teams. I'm just very excited to see Wemby, though, and Chris Paul together.
Me too.
For the first time. I don't know if it's going to be good, but I think they'll be exciting for the whole year as long as Paul is, as long as he's healthy. But I mean, good for Chris Paul. Like, this is could be a renaissance for the end of his career, but also he's clearly going to be a coach after this. And what better, job in training than to learn from Pop every single day. I'm sure he's doing in his office every day, breaking stuff down, doing so much where he's almost an assistant coach on this team along with being the point guard out there. It's kind of amazing, honestly. I'm excited.
And I think he's going to help the young guards, Trey Jones and Stephon Castle, so much. Trey Jones, pretty good at the end of last year. Pretty good playmaking guard. And I think everyone just kind of forgets about Trey Jones because Chris Paul's there.
For sure.
Absolutely. And then you have Stephon Castle, who was, unbelievable at UConn. He's one of my favorite rookies coming in to this class. I think having Chris Paul there, one of the better moves this offseason, even if Paul isn't obviously going to be prime Chris Paul, right? He's an old man now, but like you said, Jake, to have kind of that player coach for these young guards and to have a guy who knows basketball and just knows where guys need to be on the court. Exactly. With Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
It's terrifying for me tonight, but in terms of just the potential of the Spurs and the potential what leap we could see Wemby make this year, you got to be excited if you're a basketball fan. You have to be.
It's kind of crazy, but it's also not. It's the best player that Chris Paul has ever played with, like easily.
Yeah.
It's like
Booker.
I guess Steph. Yeah, I'm not even counting. Last year, I wasn't even thinking about besides
Curry's
that.
top 10 all time, though.
But
like,
Curry,
right?
it's Curry for sure. I forgot that he was
Yeah.
on the Warriors last year, to be honest, even.
But I mean,
Lost
when
my
it's all
memory.
said and done, could be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to jump that ahead, but you're right, Dunny. I mean, the potential Wemby has is,
And I'm thinking also
league-breaking.
them playing together too, like the symbiosis of
Yeah,
Paul.
I guess
True,
last
true,
year,
true.
Chris
They didn't
Paul
really
and the Warriors like barely happened.
He was just like steps off. Chris is on.
Also, I got one thing though that's bothering me about Wemby. He's listed at 7'3" this year, buddy. You're 7'5". You were listed 7'4" last year. You're 7'3" last year.
Yeah,
you're
how's
not
he
shrinking.
Yeah,
Why are you shrinking? You don't. Why would you want to shrink? You're 7'5". Just to say you're 7'5", you're a freak.
That's crazy. He said, "No, I actually lost an inch, guys.
Yeah, I lost a couple inches. I'm 7'3" now.
This might be the craziest thing that we say about this game. In a game where there's Victor Wembanyama on the court, I might be honed in on one player more. I'm just very excited to see Klay Thompson as a Mav.
Me too.
Just fan intrigue. How he fits with Kyrie and Luka. And I mean, just think about the battles that Kyrie and Klay have had over the years.
Yeah.
Now teammates. So there's that aspect. Just the jumper, like does he? I mean, he still has it. I'm not one of those guys.
It's easy mode for him.
Yeah,
it's easy mode now. He just has to stand
think
outside the arc and let two of the best playmakers in basketball get him the ball.
Exactly. He's going to get some of the easiest looks he's ever had in his career, and he played with Steph Curry for a decade.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm honing in on Klay Thompson tonight for sure. So looking forward to it.
You might hear me all the way in Boston, Dunny, when he hits his first three. I am like I said, it is kid on Christmas vibes tonight. I cannot wait to watch this team. I was a little worried, right, when Luka kind of had the injury pop up at the end of the preseason. And it was like, is he going to be ready? Now he's a full go for tonight. Their team's healthy. It hasn't hit me yet, too, Dunny, that like Klay's a Maverick until the game starts, right?
Yeah.
You see him in the jersey, you see the preseason, you see all that, but it doesn't really hit until that first game. You're like, oh yeah, we got that guy. And I know it's towards the end of the career, and he's not the Klay Thompson of old.
Yeah,
but
he
I
doesn't
don't care.
need
We're
to
getting
be.
one of the greatest shooters of all time playing with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah,
he's just going to get open threes. The open threes are now going from Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dante Exum to Klay Thompson. That's a huge upgrade.
So many Tim Hardaway sprays today. This is crazy.
We will go every week this year. I will make sure to fit in a Tim Hardaway stray.
Tim needs to light it up.
Did you catch the Dwight Powell stray at the beginning of this, Jake? I heard it.
Oh, I didn't hear that actually. Well, Dwight Powell deserves them.
I will say though, Dwight Powell now, I'm okay with Dwight Powell because he's so buried on the depth chart. He's just a locker room guy. They love him. They love him as a locker room guy.
That's all I think about when I see Dwight Powell.
But he's in a great spot now. He can't hurt me anymore. He's a locker room guy. They like him. They hang out with him. They get along. The Mavs love him. He's a locker room guy. That's fine. Same with Max.
He must be a great hang because he's been on the Mavericks for so damn long.
Oh, the fan base adores him. Like the fan base adores. He's like that kind of meme fan base player, right? He's not very good, but you like him on the team. Like he's friends with the good players and everything. Yeah. Ownership loves him, all that. So
he's Lucas Thanasis, bro. It's fine.
Pretty much, right? Pretty much. And now he can't hurt me because we have Gafford and Lively. And now Dwight Powell doesn't hurt me. And now I'm happy with Dwight Powell.
That's good. Okay. That makes sense.
I want to see Dwight Powell play tonight. You know why? Because we'll be up 30. I would love to see Dwight Powell play tonight. You've never heard me say that sentence before in my life. I would love to watch Dwight Powell play basketball tonight.
Oh man. On that note, we can't top that. Let's go to the next game tonight. Thunder at Nuggets. Huge game. I can't wait to see this.
This
I
is
mean,
this is what the people have been waiting for, man. As far as Western
this,
Conference matchups go,
this is what
this
the
could be a
people
Western
want.
Conference Finals. This is a new look Thunder team that we are, we got to feast our eyes on. It sucks no Hartenstein tonight,
Yeah,
especially with the Jokic matchup. That would be very interesting.
Chet
But
won't back down though.
I was gonna say big test for Chet. This is a guy who, just got better every single game last year. As a guy who was very vocal about how hard he was working this offseason, and it wasn't just a empty gym. Chet, look at all these threes I'm making. This is a guy who
Right.
legit puts in the work. And yeah, I'm excited. Caruso and Russ, man. Russ in Denver. I can't wait for his first stint.
I know it.
That's
This
so
is
wild.
gonna be a fun game. We got a great night of TNT basketball, and what I can't wait for, Dunny, is just Caruso and Dort just tormenting Nuggets trying to take threes. I can't wait for the Dortcher Chamber and Caruso together, until I play them. But to watch them, they are going to make it hell for whoever's trying to get up open looks against them. And their first game of the year, they're playing the Denver Nuggets, who probably outside of the Boston Celtics are the second best team in the NBA at just getting open threes. Just getting guys open looks, right? The way the Nuggets move the ball, the way Jokic just gets guys into those positions. So I can't wait for this game. I really like the Thunder this year. You guys know that. You guys know I liked the Thunder last year. And then this year, I'm back on the Thunder train again. I think they're just an unbelievable team. And you're right, we're missing Hartenstein, but there might not be a better defensive team in the NBA than the Thunder this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm with you there with the Thunder. Picked them to win the title. I've picked them on my lock today to win this game. I think it'll be a close game. But if the Thunder are underdogs, I'm probably going to take them this year, no matter what the situation is. This is a team I'm super high on. I'm really interested to see how the Nuggets, like how they. It feels like the Nuggets are at a point where no one's impressed with their roster outside of Jokic. Like everyone's really down on Murray. Pretty down, like from points where they've been at before. I mean, like obviously people still think Murray is like an all-star level player, but people are pretty down on Murray as a superstar. Gordon's probably the highest thought of guy next to him there, next to Jokic. MPJ is kind of just in his range where he peaked and kind of went back to where he's been. So it's just these guys got to step up again for this team to be a contender. Like we need Murray to be an all NBA level guard for the Nuggets to truly be a contender. And this is going to be a really tough test, as you were talking about, defensively against this perimeter defense that the Thunder have. Shea in there as well, in addition to Caruso and Dort and Jalen and Williams and all these guys that just hound you, and why we're so excited about the Thunder in the first place. But I really want to see how the Nuggets respond, because if the Nuggets are like a middling team, they might be a team that we're looking at making a big trade in this season, because you can't waste these Jokic years.
Right.
And you can't have it with you can't do it by not having a good supporting cast. They spent all these money on these guys and believed in them, and it got them a ring to this point, but you can't just live off. If you got to let them go and get something else, you got to let them go and get something and make a new dynamic. I don't know who that star is, but the Nuggets are, I think, a team to watch this year for becoming desperate and making a move to add to this team during the season. Like just imagine if one day we get a Shams notification, RIP Woj Bomb. I don't know. We got to think of a name for Shams something. That like, I don't know how the salaries work out, but like Jimmy Butler gets traded to the Nuggets for like MPJ and something.
No, what about
like those are
Zach LaVine?
I was thinking that.
Like these are the names that they should be thinking about and getting rid of that big contract of MPJ. I honestly think I would do it if they could get Jimmy Butler. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Do you think we know what MPJ is at this point? Do you think there's anything left in terms of potential, or is MPJ what we saw last year? That's kind of the best MPJ version.
He's like better Tobias Harris.
Oh,
I
think that's MPJ.
Oh, man.
I think he could still turn into a more consistent scorer, but as far as like talent wise, like if there's another leap there, I'm not sure, unless he goes to like a bad team. and he can really showcase. But I think if he's playing with Joker, he's more often than not, he's gonna kind of have to be like more of a spot up guy and like a volume 3-point shooter, or just a volume shooter in general. He is still only 26, which is kind of surprising. But no, I think as far as potential wise, he's probably close to capped.
I'm kind of there too. And this was a guy that I think
no disrespect, just
no disrespect. He's a solid basketball player, but I don't think he's ever going to reach the level that we thought he could get to, or a lot of people thought we could get to. And then, that comes in play with, injuries year after year and stuff like that too. But also, I think sometimes it comes with confidence.
Yeah.
And I think MPJ at times can kind of shy away and be an unconfident player. And I think if you're the Denver Nuggets, I would say if you can get a move like that and get someone else, now might be the time to do it, because there might be an organization that be like, well, maybe what if he does reach that potential? Because at the end, you're talking about a 6'10" guy who can shoot, right?
If you're Miami, you have, of course, like that's a perfect chance to reset, and you build around Porter, Hero, and Bam. Like that's a great situation. I think there's a lot of teams in the league who would take a chance on a guy like that for sure. So yeah, I agree. I wonder. I'm more worried about if Murray capped than if Porter capped, honestly.
Right.
And that's like, there's a lot of great guards in the league, and he might have just gotten passed over by whatever,
Sure.
Who you guys like in this game? Thunder 1.5 point favorites.
I like the Thunder.
It's in Denver, right?
Yeah, it's in Denver. I know it's tough to pick against Denver at home.
Denver opening night's tough. I'm gonna take the Nuggets tonight. Even though I think the Thunder are a better team, Denver opening night in Denver too. It's tough, man, to play in Denver. It's one of the
It's tough to play in Denver. I can only see this game going one of two ways. I can see Denver winning it close, or if the Thunder win, I think they could boat race the Nuggets in this matchup.
I could see that.
I think it could be ugly. I don't know why.
I think so. That's what I think. It's more that than the Thunder boat or the Nuggets boat racing. You said Thunder boat racing the Nuggets, right? Yes. I think it's way more that way than more possible than the other way around.
I see the Nuggets winning.
To see Russ though, man.
I see the Nuggets win like a low scoring game, like 100 to like 96 type of game.
I could see that.
I want Russ to be like one of those first subs too, so we can actually see Jokic and Russ on the floor together a lot.
The thing is, he kind of has to be with this roster.
I think there's a world. I think there's a world we live in where Russ is 6th man of the year.
Yeah,
I think that's
Fortnite
very
world.
No, I truly believe. I think if he's the first man off the bench for the Nuggets, and look at in the past years, those guys coming off the bench for the Nuggets and how they usually perform, especially the guys just step up for the Nuggets. I think this could be a great spot. Look at what Reggie Jackson did for the Nuggets in limited time. Yeah. Like guys like that. So I truly believe that there's a world where Russell Westbrook's 6th man.
That's fair. That's fair.
I love it. Let's see it. This is going to be a great game.
All right, let's go quick through Friday night's games. Pacers at Knicks. Any thoughts about either the Knicks? It can't be any worse, but being back at
no. Nice. Can we pump the brakes on it? Can't be any worse for the Knicks. No basketball team.
Worse?
No basketball. I don't even think it was that bad. Celtics made 29 threes.
The Knicks offense was like
the Knicks offense was good.
Nobody in the league is coming close in a game when the Celtics make 29 threes.
Do you think Knicks fans feel this way?
Knicks fans, sky's falling, and then if they win, they're going to win the NBA championship. That's just how Knicks fans operate. A loss is everything's over, and a win is, we're going to win the title. But I don't think you have to panic as a Knicks fan. I mean, you didn't even see your starters for the second half of the game for the most part. Besides Bridges, who kind of redeemed his horrible first half by scoring 16 in the third. But, I mean, no one's beating the Celtics. Like, why are we overreacting to one game when you're playing the best team in the world? And
I think
NBA record threes.
I think they built the Timu Celtics, and I think that's all that they did. And they're just going to get torched. I was going to say this year. It feels like they're good. Like Brunson, maybe better than White, or obviously better than White or Holiday, but they are a great matchup for him. And then you got the two wings who are just not as good as Jays and Towns. If Porzingis is back healthy, who would you rather have in a playoff game? Porzingis or Towns?
Fair.
We did this last week.
Fair. But like I said, it's a 1-game sample size. Towns, new team. So you're still kind of working things out. And this game was over after the first quarter pretty much because the Celtics made how many threes they make in the first quarter, Johnny?
10.
10. Was it
so
Franchise
sick.
record.
I mean, so you can't really take anything away from this game. The Pacers, the only thing I'll take away from the Pacers, I'm a little bit concerned about Halliburton because he hasn't looked like the same player.
Looked pedestrian,
really,
man.
Yeah, really post kind of that, in-season tournament run.
Yeah.
And it's kind of concerning because we saw it in the playoffs, or like when's that, like Halliburton with Siakam and a healthy Ben Mathurin, Nembhard, I think it's a great team. But if Halliburton doesn't get to the point where he was kind of in the first half of last year, is a big concern. And what did we see for 95% of that Pistons game is Halliburton just didn't look like himself.
Yep.
So that's the bigger red flag for me.
6
I'm not
for
worried
18,
about
and he was 1 for 9 from 3, which is the concerning thing
Yeah.
because that's what dropped off was the 3-point shot a lot.
and he wasn't doing his flashy passes or getting guys the ball like he usually does. I mean, shocking to say the least. So that's kind of the bigger concern on the teams. I'm not worried about the Knicks. I think the Knicks win this one comfortably.
All right. I'm
I think
worried
it'll be a
about the
good
Knicks.
game. I think the only reason that people maybe are or is fair to overreact about the Knicks, and Jake kind of touched on this a little, but all summer we heard this is the team that's built to compete with the Celtics, to maybe
I
knock
know.
the Celtics off. And again, it is one game, but that was just a jarring for
Yes. It
that
was
to be
very
said
jarring.
all off season, and then that.
But it's a
to
new,
be-
and the thing is that it's a new Knicks team. Like this is now a brand new team. We can't look at them
Yes.
as the same team as last year, and they have better players. Like it looks like better on paper, but this mix might not. It also might not be it. I'm not a cat. I love Bridges, love Brunson, love Anunoby, but they're asking a lot of Towns
Agreed.
while Robinson is out, and I don't know if he can hold up like that.
Agreed. But like I said, no one is beating that Celtics team when they make 29 threes.
Well,
and
no.
Pretty much they could have made 35 threes.
They
that
tried.
Oh
game
my God,
if they
went
played
ice cold.
starters. Well,
They
that
went
was the thing because they're
ice
playing all their backups.
Yeah,
If the
they,
Celtics were
they were just trying to get the record.
Yeah. I mean, so to be honest with you, I'm not concerned. And like I said, like the Celtics, we know are the best team in the league. So
A lot of moving parts in that game. Yeah, it's not fair to write them off the way some people have, and it's impossible for that not to be eye opening. And it was the very first game of the season. Everyone was watching TNT, Knicks Celtics banner night. Like
it looks like Tatum fixed his shot. That's what you could take away from
the
that
show's
game.
gonna go way too long if we get into that.
All right. Well, we might have to because we're gonna spin the wheel. We're finishing up. We're spinning the wheel. Let's see who's getting.
All right. So what do we do?
Here.
What are we doing here? We spinning the wheel? Random team?
We're spinning the wheel. We got all the teams right here. Let's go.
And we got to talk about this team.
If
No
you're
matter
not
what
on
it
YouTube,
Oh, come on. We got to talk about the Knicks again. Do we trust? We got to go with the wheel.
yeah, we have to.
We got to go with the wheel.
Live by the wheel. So we're back
gotta
on
go
the
with
Knicks.
the wheel.
We are not done talking about the New York Knicks.
We're not done
gonna
talking
keep
about the
New
Knicks.
York Knicks. The wheel has demanded it. All right. Can we seriously talk about Karl Anthony Towns?
Yes. Let's talk about Karl Anthony Towns.
How does this end well for Karl Anthony Towns? Do you guys see more scenarios where it ends well with Towns in New York or where he is like one of the most hated Knicks of all time? Because I think it's way more most hated Knick of all time.
I'm leaning that way too.
Nick.
I'm leaning that way too. You guys knew my initial thoughts after the trade.
We all think it's better for Minnesota.
Yes, we're all in that, and I'm frustrated that the Knicks, I want to say, gave up on Julius Randle because he's been there long enough, but it kind of felt that way, and I felt like when healthy, like it was a great 1A 1B with Brunson. My biggest concern with Karl Anthony Towns is, do we think he's going to really buy into the Knicks? He's going to have to play 42 minutes a night. He's going to have to play defense on every end of the court. And Dunny, I know it was a super small sample size, but even when that game was, I don't even want to say within reason because the Celtics were up 20 after about 8 minutes. But even in the first half, when both teams were playing their starters, Dunny, I mean, Towns looked checked out. He looked checked out on defense. He looked like he was playing on one side of the court.
Again, not an insult stat, one game, small sample size. Not trying to overreact here. Celtics had Drew Holiday on Cat for most of that first half, and it was working.
That's also credit to Drew Holiday.
Oh, of course, but
Okay.
I mean, like Shaq and Charles said it on the broadcast. They're like, that should be disrespectful to you if you're that well paid as a big man, you're that big, and you're a skilled scorer. Like you should be, backing him down as soon as you catch and scoring. Something else about this Knicks team and Cat in particular, Cat and Rudy weren't a great fit next to each other, and that's part of the reason the trade happened. I mean, is Cat and Mitchell Robinson a good fit next to each other? They're, Mitch is kind of just the worst Rudy Gobert.
I don't
back to Mitchell Robinson.
I don't think we'll see a lot of Cat and Mitchell Robinson on the court together for
I
that.
don't think so either.
That, to be honest with you, I get what you're saying, and he just feels like worse Rudy Gobert. But
there will be some matchups that
we'll
use it, but I don't think, because I don't think they're going to put. I think once Robinson gets back, he's on like the ultimate pitch count of pitch counts because they need him. If they're going to do this, if they're going to beat the Celtics in May, they need Mitchell Robinson to come into those games and give them good 20, 25 minutes of making life hell for Porzingis and Horford. Like that's his one job, is to just make those. And I think it's a different way, but they might have to use him more. I just don't see it with, like, it went so bad with him and Tibbs the first time. And I know there was a lot of Jimmy Butler involved in that too, obviously. That he was a big issue, and obviously he wanted out, but he wanted out because he didn't think that Towns had it. And now they've convinced, Tibbs to bring this guy back in. Maybe they have a good relationship, but it doesn't seem like the play style fits. It's a big red flag for me. And seeing his passive 12 and 7, like you just like, you're here to score 20 points a night and get 10 rebounds. Like that's what you need. This is what you're here for. And Bridges is the guy that got the 5 first-round picks or whatever, but Towns, I would argue, is the bigger acquisition and the better player. So this is like, you have to do this. You have to start delivering like that.
While we have, just seconds here, I feel we should say something good about the Knicks. And what that will be is you should be super excited about Jalen Brunson if you're a Knicks fan. He had 22 points in 24 minutes, and he had to deal with Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown picking him up full court for parts of that first half. So, yes, again, it's kind of what Steve's been saying. Like, it's opening night. It was the Celtics, probably the best chemistry of a team in the NBA, coming off a championship. And like we said, they're still trying to figure it out. And Brunson, for the most part, was still pretty awesome.
And last thing I'll say, Miles McBride played really well too. Miles McBride played really well, and a team that needs shooting, because Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, as much as I love him, can be inconsistent from 3. McBride's kind of that spark plug you want off the bench who can shoot. So there were positives to take away, and that's what I said. I'm not panicking.
All right, so next, the wheel already messing with us. We're off to the hot start with the wheel.
We talked about the Knicks, and then the wheel's like, we're not done.
We're not, the wheel's a Knicks fan, maybe.
Did Kanzi rig the wheel?
Yeah, I think so. Kanz is working some voodoo magic here. So a lot of Knicks talk. We will not be bringing Knicks talk to 3 big things, but we're all done here. We got a great weekend of hoops. We'll have a lot more to dive into, a lot more games, a lot more action next Thursday when we're back on Halloween. Oh, we gotta come with a costume. I'll dress up as Dunny. I don't know what that is. I have one Celtics shirt. Yeah, I have a Kyrie Irving Celtics shirt.
Halloween. Whenever I go out this year, I'm being Anakin Skywalker, so maybe I'll just throw that on.
Hey, there you go.
Okay,
that's a good one.
Okay.
I don't have a costume this year. I don't know if I'm doing anything, but
Jedi.
maybe I need to now. That'd be tight. I like the way you're thinking here. All right, let's get Steve to go sweat for 4 hours. Let's get him out of here, and he's got to go lock in for some Rams and Mavs.
Go Mavs, go Rams. A big night. Big night.
All right, thank you, folks. Have a great night. We'll be back to talk way more hoops.